it's called like Instagram face, and like how all of these women's faces look exactly the same. You get like positive reinforcement when you have the big lips and the big eyes, and that constant positive reinforcement creates more people that get it, and then it basically starts to subconsciously affect your brain, because our human brain has always liked symmetry with big eyes and big lips, but it was very hard to achieve.
It was rare.
Right? It was rare. So now that you're getting these dopamine hits of like these perfect faces, it's skewing how you see your own. And basically we're like morphing into kind of all like looking the same.
We're trying to all look the same on Instagram. Like it's
Yeah.
weird how it's changing the population as opposed to moving back to loving the individual beauty of a situation or a person, or nuance. Like nuance is the next N word. Nobody wants to talk about nuance or difference in meaning, and so when I see that everybody is looking the same now, like what's that doing to the species?
They're not showing faces that are changing the world. They're showing faces that are getting tons of views every single day, which are not, particularly impactful people for the right reasons, right? So it's really no different. Like one of the main faces was Carly Bible, like a YouTuber for makeup. Like they all look the same, but it's really no different than that pop-up store in Korea. Like relevant for a moment, dies. Relevant for a moment, like dies.
I think there's going to be a hot trend towards more individual and unique looking people. I think we've saturated the let's look the same. And I think brands will do, and brands in the past did that, right? By kind of picking the freckled model or or somebody else. But I think
that's the thing actually right now is the biggest models are actually trans. They're like men that transition to women. Like that's like the modeling world right now. It's like so many female models are so frustrated because like all of the roles are going to men that are being turned into women.
Sorry?
Like trans women.
You mean women?
My only thing I just want to make sure, if I say trans women, like is it clear that it was a man before versus if you say like a trans man?
Well, why don't you tell us what you think it is?
Well, I just want to make sure that it was clear that it was so
to me it's men taking over women's jobs, but that's not
the reason is that it's when you say like it's a unique look, right? Because it's like there's something uncanny to it.
The reason why they can do it is the men may have a bit stronger bone structures in the face, but what the women are doing in terms of the filters and the fillers, a man can do. Right? So it's actually it's hard for a man to look feminine, but if we make femininity bloated lips and all of this stuff, they can get the same
treatments.
Thing,
No,
right?
exactly. That's the whole thing. Well, even more to that actually is that in fashion, the trend has never really been like over injected, right? It's been very like, angular cheekbones, like almost weird looking, right? But what's interesting to what you're saying is that the models that are taking these places, they can be injected because they don't look like over injected females. They look like very exotic humans. Like you can't quite pin there's something to it where you're like, I can't stop staring. And that's actually what's really fascinating about. But from a hot or not from this, I think that the take is hot. I think this is the kind of dialogue I want entering into the zeitgeist. We need to have more of these conversations. I think that there's going to be a large majority of people that there's just a percentage of the populace that wants the trash. They want the rage bait. They want to stare at like, people who are crashing and burning. Like there's there
was a reason why the tabloid magazines were at the checkout.
Yeah, it worked.
They were at the checkouts, right? Like that in the old days, that was digital media, like the tabloid at the checkout, reading.
But I'm ready for that to be like a segment of the population. Like when you like derogatory, it's like, oh, they're from the Jersey Shore. Like I'm kind of ready for that to become its own like category of people, because I think that hasn't entered into the zeitgeist.
It just seems like the masses make up the most likes, the most follows, but really is that where joy comes from? Because what digital media allows you to do is find your tribe across national borders, right? But we're always looking at what is the millions, but it's better to have 100 amazing friends across national borders and have your brand loved by 10,000 super customers.
Yeah, totally. I think as an aside, it doesn't bother me if people want, like, I actually think too, like, all the power to you. If you want to do it, get it done. I think though the core thing is and I agree with you, but that's also what we're seeing on socials, right? Is that like people's tribes are being built up, like people are following who they want to follow. I think the core piece to this is there's been a push to, I can't talk about getting things done because you have, like, it needs to be natural. And that all of these faces popping up, it shows you that obviously, like, it's doing a lot of damage to young girls because they think that these big eyes and these big lips and these tiny waists and like, it's all real and that they can't achieve it. And then they're all secretly getting injected younger and younger because like they feel conscious that they don't have it. So I think it's more that it coming out that that's not natural is important.
I think what everybody could do probably this week is is just unfollow. You know how I tell business owners, fire your friends who aren't lifting you up?
Yep.
Well, same on your feeds, on your digital platforms. Like, start unfollowing people who aren't giving you healthy content,
you're right.
Like, just every week unfollow people, and for every 5 you unfollow, add one person who makes you a better human. Not somebody who's just distracted by tabloid stuff.
I feel the same way, honestly. I was like lurking last night, Heidi Montag. I'm going to be completely raw here. I was like lurking Heidi Montag. He used to be like on one of my favorite shows. And it just makes me sad that she really is, she's kind of like she's like a dumpster fire. You know what I mean? Like you kind of like, they're constantly clout chasing, you know, her and her husband are like nuts, you know, like she's kind of like a car accident. Like you don't want to watch, but you don't want to look away. And it like made me kind of annoyed, like how many people that I know, and it doesn't make me better because I was looking at her page and I realized in that moment how ugly it was that I was looking at her page as kind of like, oh, it's funny, you've become a pop star now. And how many people that I followed her. And I'm like, I just want to get to a point where like we're not fueling these attention seekers with attention and like acting like what they're doing is funny or cool, like at the expense of like us being able to kind of laugh at them. And I realized what I was doing in that moment. I'm like, I want to be better because I don't want these people's mental health, like they're constantly on this roller coaster of trying to like seek attention and like where does it go for them?